Hi, Wendy here in the Service Corps studio. Today's episode is about hiring and retaining critical roles within your company. We're joined today by Tim and Becky Peltzer, the owners of Waste Solutions of Iowa. WSI not only specializes in portable restrooms, but also commercial grease trap cleaning and commercial and residential roll-off container services. Tim and Becky have a lot to share, so let's get back in the studio. Right this way. Thank you for joining us today to Toilet Talk. This episode is going to be a juicy one. What happens when one of your key roles leaves your company unexpectedly? Chaos, right? So, how do you minimize the risk of losing one of your key roles? That's what we're here to discuss today. But before we jump in, I would like to welcome Becky and Tim Peltzer, owners of Waste Solutions of Iowa, and give you two a little bit of a chance to explain and tell us about Waste Solutions of Iowa.
Well, thank you, Wendy, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here with Service Corps today and explain to us, or explain to whoever is listening about our our employee lifetime situation, or what do you call it? The lifeline, not lifetime, lifeline. Which when Wendy, you reached out to me, I said, oh my gosh, I feel like an imposter with imposter syndrome, because I would say we don't have this nailed down, but I would say we've definitely tried a lot of things, and maybe we could tell you more what not to do than what to do. But this is something we actually have a lot of passion for, and something that's super important for us is to have a very good culture, and that the employees who are here really love it here and feel that they fit into our core values and that we live our core values. So, but yeah, so we started Waste Solutions of Iowa back in January of 2018. It was a situation where Tim was looking for a career change. He was with a company that had recently shifted from dad to son, and you could tell that son was operating a little bit different, and kind of, maybe it wasn't kind of, but made several cues of how he could find perhaps someone else. So at the time, Tim started looking for another job, and we had a friend who owned a business and put it in your ear that maybe we could own a business. And I just never knew anything about that. And so they were out for the hunt, and they found what was called at the time Jim's John's, and thought it was going to be a money tree. Super easy money. So with that, they continued to pursue that, and we found, I want to say, a bank silly enough to finance us, and because we literally had no experience in the industry, let alone owning a business. I worked for someone, Tim worked for someone, and it just seemed like a good idea at the time, and we jumped in, and it was a rough ride, a really rough ride. It was not within but a couple months, and we were having a hard time making payroll. Our maintenance for our trucks was incredibly high. We really bought a company with a lot of junky assets, so to speak, and they needed a lot of repairs and maintenance, and we were not handymen. So we had to, ask for help on those things and pay for that kind of stuff. And it was just a really rocky road. And we ended up reaching out to some other entrepreneurs that we knew about, suggestions they may have. And we kind of got a nice little team put together to give us good advice on business. And we were willing to take the actions that they asked us to take. And I would say by the grace of God that we're still here today. And through a lot of hard work. And So it's been a wonderful journey. It's been days that have been amazing and days where I want to throw in the towel. And but at the end of the day, it's been a phenomenal experience that we've had. And it's just little by little, we had just a lifeline of things that have happened to make it who we are today, where we've been. But I would say the biggest thing is getting good people in your corner who know business and to give you good advice on like next steps, and to know that no matter what business you're in, you're all in it together. Like we're all struggling with maybe the employee aspect after 2020, or those are the kind of things. So anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, just how valuable we learned in the whole process of how valuable it is to two things: to have good people around you, and the second most important thing is be willing to do the action.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a ton of people that basically said, "We'll pray, you do the work," and that's what we did. And they give us the actions, and we just put our nose to the grindstone and did the work. Showed up every day and did the work, and followed the direction of our advisory board and the people around us, and things like the PSAI, and involving ourselves in the PSAI really early on, and getting around the people of the PSAI in our industry. We have an amazing industry in the sense that people are homegrown, naturally kind people, and willing to just help whoever's around. Not out of anything other than it's the right thing to do. And when you're in an organization like that, where people are wanting to help the industry grow and the industry change, it changes your trajectory, it changes your outlook. And the sky's the limit on your knowledge base, and there is no situation that you're going to come up with that hasn't been overcome or accomplished in the PSAI and in the group of people that are at the PSAI. So you don't have to go out and recreate the wheel, and that was a big deal for us. And Arnold's, when you were at Arnold's, and talking to you and being at the round tables, and being able to tap into that is really a resource that I wish everybody had an opportunity to be a part of, because it's a huge deal.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing that about the history and the journey you have currently been on. I certainly admire the two of you and the work that you have been very transparent about with your progress. So let's dive in a little bit. So our topic today, as we're talking about some of those the key roles and keeping them, the retention, the finding them. So share with me, what are some effective strategies or incentives that you particularly do to attract the top talent?
Well, I'll talk a little bit on the operations side of it and the driver side of it. And one of the things that we really try to do is we learned early on that nobody wants to drive vehicles that need a lot of maintenance, that are unsafe, not properly maintained. And we try to make sure that our fleet is properly maintained and well taken care of. We try to make sure that everything in our fleet is operational and up to the safety standards of the DOT and the organizations around that govern that situation. Some of the other things that we do, obviously, you got to have competitive pay, and you got to be competitive on that. You don't have to be the highest, you don't have to be the lowest. You just have to be competitive, and you have to be transparent about where you're going at all times, and letting people know that you have a vision, you have a goal, and they can be a part of that. And that their input can have an impact on the trajectory of the company. And I think people, when you talk to them as an equal, when you talk to them as being a part of a team, they respond better to that type of environment. The type of environment that we bought was a very do it because I told you and shut up type of thing. And transforming that and transitioning that to we're in this together, and that's a big deal, being able to do that. Some other things that we have done is, offering referral bonuses and being able, if you enjoy working here, you're more apt to refer your company to your friends or family or other people that you may know, and taking advantage of that what we call it low-lying fruit of finding people and rewarding people for that, so that's been a couple of the things that we have done. And then always being able to pivot and change, not being so entrenched that you can't be wrong, and that, something that you tried might not work, and being able to communicate that to your employees of, hey, we were trying this, it didn't work, here's why it didn't work, here's what we think we're going to try now, and here's why we think it's going to work, and getting that buy-in on it. So
Okay.
those have been some of the things that we've tried on the driver's side.
So I'm hearing you correctly, making sure you have newer equipment and well-running equipment, you're organized internally, you have competitive wages and benefits, and then also, as far as recruitment, kind of from within, you have some hiring bonuses, allowances, for the employees, so that they remain happy and content and bring more into the fold, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what are some common challenges or obstacles when it comes to hiring some of these key roles? You've laid out what strategies you're going with, but what are some of the challenges that you do face?
I'd say one thing that everybody's facing right now, regardless, I think, of what company you're in, is it's an employee market right now. We're all looking for enough bodies to fill the roles, and then on top of that, you have I would say you have a little bit of a stigma you have to overcome, which is, you didn't wake up one day saying, I want to work for a toilet company, that's my dream. But to create a company that people work here and are like, oh my gosh, this is the best job I've ever had. So it's like being able to overcome the stigma, but also realizing, like, this is it's just a business. It's a business like any other business. And what, the quality of your job really has to do with, what the business is like itself inside. So I think that's definitely been some challenges. And, to piggyback a little bit on what Tim was saying about some strategies too, is I'm really big into outsourcing, because we have, we're a smaller company, not quite large enough yet to have, your own this department and your own that department. So I really like to outsource. And so when I am out trying to look for top recruiting or employees, I have a web-based version of, system that I use for hiring people to ask certain questions and kind of vets them for me before they even come in through the door. And one thing we are doing for a while, it's kind of expensive, but doing these personality tests, like, do they actually blend and mix with your culture? And a lot of times, we just want to go out there and find the best people possible without, spending a lot of money or money at all. And the truth of the matter is it costs you money to find good employees and to attract top talent. And sometimes your budget isn't that great, depending on what's going on. And sometimes you have a bigger budget, but I personally, it's something that I feel, is really important in our budget, is to have some sort of recruiting and hiring money set aside for that.
And one real quick to piggyback on that, one big deal, and we've heard this at the PSAI for years and at the web show for years, about the amount of money you're spending on recruiting. It reflects on the quality of people that you're getting. And you've got to think of it. You got to switch your mindset to the fact it costs you $5,000 to $10,000 or more for a bad hire. So you might want to spend some time and some money up front to make sure that hire fits your culture and fits with the people in your office, because it's going to cost you either way.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, because why spend that kind of money on something that you're just going to kind of lose out in the end, because of it, whether, and as you mentioned, investing in the some of the processes and procedures to, recruit the right talent. So do you specifically focus on attracting people from the portable sanitation industry or other similar industries, or do you just really try and find the right fit?
Both a little bit. So not so much in, I would say, our portable side. We're not really necessarily looking for talent that already knows how to service a toilet. We're not really looking for that, but it would be great if they had some driving experience, especially driving bigger vehicles, being able to back up, run trailers. That stuff is, a really good plus, although we can train them. And then when you're hiring within, it's great to have experience come with the individual. But another thing that we've learned, I would say, is we really like to hire for their attitude. And if they have a good attitude and they're teachable, that's really great. We just hired a couple folks recently that didn't really have any experience in the department we were hiring them for, but they totally fit our core values, and they're excited, and they're eager to learn. Where I've also hired people with experience, and then they're like, well, why are you doing it this way? And there's a give and take, right? So somebody with experience has some prior thoughts on how things should be done. And sometimes they can bring so much value to you because they're bringing stuff to your company. But sometimes, it could be hard to match with, are they really a good fit for your company? And are they, the kind of personality you want as you grow your team? So, but we don't really necessarily search for industry specific, do we? What
Not
do you
at
do?
all. We really, honestly, and as of late, we've really found that getting people outside the industry, we're a growing company, and we're growing at a tremendous rate, and that creates its own problems and challenges. And sometimes when you hire people who are in the industry, we're mainly talking about office side, you can get some, they can be stuck in a rut. This is how I always did it. This is why we're doing it this way. Well, that worked when we were this big. It doesn't work when we're this big. It doesn't get us to this level. And so we've had some really great effects just doubling down on the culture. And are they going to fit the culture more than do they have this briefcase? Do they have the skill set, and putting more about briefcase is important, but putting more, just as much, if not more, value on the culture fit is way better than the other way around.
Yeah,
because Becky, we've had some great employees that were like phenomenal with skill set, knocked it out of the park skill set, but culture wise, they were a cancer. They were just, you were constantly beating your head against the wall trying to, culturally, this isn't working. And, it just became very apparent that we need to focus on the culture, and that culture will eat briefcase for lunch every day.
I like that. Good terminology. So let's dig in a little bit more then on some of the best strategies for retaining key roles. WSI. I know you guys have worked a lot on your culture and a lot on your processes. So tell us more about, the retention piece of these valuable employees.
So one thing that's really been hitting me, I think, lately is that I need to be very aware of my employees, especially my directs, if I have any directs, of how are they doing? And am I spending enough time with them about how they're doing? And I'm the type of person that I've got a task, I'm going to get it done, and I can just be, blinders on, and the world does not exist around me. And I anticipate everybody else is, working like that too, not knowing that I've got an employee who's emotionally or physically drowning in one sense or another. So, as a leader and an owner of a business, I've had to kind of pivot a little bit and just say, okay, Becky's second and they're first. And so I have to look at what do they need from me. And it may be they don't understand how to put out an invoice, or they're overwhelmed with the amount of tasks, or they don't understand. Like, I have to be aware of like what tips them over, and what makes them tick, what makes them want to, keep charging for the next one, and what's making them stop. And so I think for me, retaining them is knowing them and being able to speak their language, regardless if it's my language, So it's basically like I was saying, it's Becky's second, they're first. Maybe I'm third or fourth, and I have to be okay with that. Like, I have to be okay that as the owner, maybe I'm here a couple hours later than everybody else because I had to help an employee master their day as opposed to me mastering my day.
If you and I had talked previously about this, and you shared a really great story about something specific that you guys did within the leadership team. Can you share that with us? Because I know it really hit.
Absolutely.
Really hit home for me.
Yeah. So just was yesterday. So Tim and I, as we've grown this business, we again are always seeking how to better our business, reading books, talking to other entrepreneurs, whatever it is. And so we have a kind of like this operation management thing that we do, which looks like quarterly we get together, annually we get together, and weekly we get together with different parts of our team. So we had a leadership meeting yesterday, but we also have, we haven't actually, we had an office meeting yesterday. And in the office meeting, let me back up just a little bit more. In our quarterly meeting, we talk about what are some of the challenges that we see that we're going to face this next quarter. And it is now June, whatever it is, late June. And I'm thinking, okay, we're in our season, and I'm hearing my people are starting to break down a little bit. They're physically overloaded. They're emotionally overloaded. It's our busy season. And toilets are like that because of all the special events, and you just you don't need that manpower in the winter, at least not in the seasonal like we are. And so I'm hearing this, I'm thinking, we've been through this a couple times. What is it that we could possibly do for these folks not to get too overwhelmed, as we know this is just temporary? And so in our quarterly meeting, the leadership team came together, and we were like, well, we think we need to try at least to verbally tell everybody that if you're feeling overwhelmed, or in any sense, you come and tell your manager, you let people know, and we are going to try to create a space for you in order to make you feel heard and supported. And so now fast forward, we were in our office meeting a couple days ago, or yesterday, I can't remember now. And one of my team members said they were really overwhelmed to the point where they were emotionally feeling like it was affecting them. It was, they can't get their work done and those kind of things. So we, as a group in that office group, we put it on the board. Okay, what's your problem? And what are the obstacles you have? And then we look together and we try to solve that problem for that person. And so what we did was we took some things off of their plate. We divided it amongst other people. And we said, during these hours, you're not doing this, or you are doing this. Will that help? Yes. Okay, great. And we even offered this person a separate room to be able to focus on certain hours of the day so they can feel like they're getting their job done. And, they felt so much relief and felt so supported. So not only did that person feel that way, but the members around the room were also like, I've heard people talk about this before, that, if you have a problem, come say something, but I've never actually seen it, in action, and they were just like blown away. And that's something that we are really working on in our culture. So one of our core values is team. And for us, we're trying to always say what that means, but yesterday was a really good example of what that could look like to be a team, and how we all surrounded that person. It took things away from that person to help them, like offload some of their work. And it really helps the morale, and I think makes them feel like they're going to help next time too. Like they want to be a part of that. So
yeah, that is just a beautiful example, and thank you for sharing, because it exhibits the trust that has been built amongst your team and within your culture. And once you have that trust, then you can take on anything, right? So now you have employees that feel supported and heard, and they trust everyone around them to be vulnerable, to say, hey, I got a problem, let's work together, to figure it out and get past it, which, in turns, so many people are going to be like, I've never felt like that or witnessed that elsewhere. This is fantastic. I know I'm in the right spot, for my employment. So thanks for sharing that. That's a really great story. So, as we're talking about creating that supportive and engaging work environment, let's also talk, we do know that people will move on. That's just a fact. So let's talk a little bit about turnover in some of these critical roles, and some of the things you have faced, and, incentives or applications you're currently using to handle all of that.
Yeah. So for me, this has been a big pivot that I've had to, with my mindset, I've had to really shift here as of late. We've had turnover, so that's why I'm like, I feel like an imposter on this topic. Like, we do not have this nailed, but it's something we've really put a lot of effort into. But turnover is going to happen, and I think that's the mindset that I've had to shift. Like, first of all, it's okay to have turnover. Sometimes new blood really keeps the company going, so that's a good thing. But every time somebody leaves, I do like to have a exit review, or interview, and say kind of what happened. Did you get the support you needed? What was and they may or may not tell you all the reasons, but at least you're giving them the opportunity. And for myself, I've had to mentally shift my mindset to say, to go ahead and expect turnover, and to know that maybe it's not always about you as the company or WSI or whatever. And maybe it's they needed a little bit more money. Maybe they needed something closer to home. There's all sorts of different reasons why people leave, your company. And so I've had to mentally shift on that. The other thing about that is, to prepare for that shift, I've realized I feel like I'm in a lot of, I can be easily in burnout because I'm constantly training new people. So the other thing I'm really pushing hard right now within our team is, and I explain it in this way, which is so true though, is that we are growing at a pretty substantial rate. So we need to help our next person, we don't know who that is yet, but we need to help them be able to come on board with us, where it doesn't suck the life out of any individual, that we have something prepared for them. There's a process, there's whatever it takes. And that way, when someone comes on board, first of all, it's a good introduction to the company, because it looks like we have our ducks in a row. And second of all, it does help all the employees if there's something already prepared and written up for that individual to come on. So one of my biggest goals right now is to kind of get that up and going and have something that's really solid. So that way it takes more of that heavy lifting off of every individual when a new person comes on. But also we're looking at it as they do transition, or we have turnover, or we need more employees, that we have a really good onboarding program. And so I was just talking today we have a meeting or a morning huddle. Thank you. Every day. And I said, here's my vision, of what we're going to look like, and about the onboarding and about the training and who WSI is going to continue to be. And, letting them know that, because then they know we're going in that direction as well. And I'm excited about this is who we're going to be, It's going to happen.
Yeah, being able to have processes that in place so that people can succeed and they can follow, if they have a question, they can, first find it in those areas. And like Becky was saying about something that's really become very apparent in our culture, in the world today, is like Becky said, there are so many reasons that people leave. It may not be personal. It may be the fact that they need to do what's right for them, and you have to be okay with that. And to be able to shift and just say, okay, to the next one we need to go, and to not get mired down in the emotion of that situation, to think that it's always something about you, or something wrong with the company. Stick close to your core values, follow your core values, and stay true to them, and it will work out. Because somebody leaves doesn't mean your core values are wrong.
Yeah.
May I add something to that? So I was just thinking, like, I thought core values was kind of a tough thing to create in your company. Like, we've done a lot of work on that, and we are pretty comfortable with what those are today. And I just have a really great example with our leadership team. I feel it doesn't necessarily mean that even people who are turning over and leaving, but who are you getting married to? Who are you bringing in? Because when you hire somebody, you're hoping that it's a good relationship. And so it's got to be like a good fit. And so not this month, we had a employee who had been here before, and they had left out of, her reasoning was she was a little afraid of what the busy season might look like. And so went to somewhere else, and then asked, reached out to one of my employees and said, hey, do you think they'd take me back? So we were like, well, she was a good employee. Absolutely. Let's talk to her. And she was saying it wasn't about money. She just needed to leave, and she would sign a whatever, which we would have never made her do. But anyways, long story short, we offered her the job, and her boss at her current position had offered her like $4 more an hour than what she was making. And she wanted to know what we could do for her. And I explained our pay situation, and that she would actually be making more. It may not be per hour, but she would make more at the end of the year. And she continued to, it wasn't about pay, but can you keep paying me more, like, type of thing. And so I took it to my leadership team. I said, super excited about the potential of this person. But personally, I'm feeling it's kind of gone sour. Like, I don't feel like it's a team. I don't feel the team there. I feel it's more something's breaking down for me, and I'm not feeling it. And I'm expected, we're a team. So I expected my leadership team to say, oh, Becky, get over it, because that happens at times. And all of them were in agreement to, we're going to pass on this one. And we're willing to hire from within, and or to look for somebody else out, but that would be a good core, fit our core values. And so
that's a good example.
It's really important. Yeah, I just think that's really important to think about who are you bringing on. And sometimes you get desperate, or it's like my dad always said, there's nothing like a new guy. It's a new person's coming in, all the potential. And but you also gotta be able to, I think, mask some of that energy and look at, okay, well, trust your gut on what you're seeing as well. Cause it's going to be somebody coming into your entire outfit,
Yeah. So it sounds like you've put a lot of hard work into, establishing those core values, and obviously running with them, and really getting the buy-in from the rest of the team, and being part of that team. And then the process for creating this onboarding package. Tell me just a little bit more about, like, how did that come to fruition? Like, where did you start? If you were to give advice to somebody else to make sure that they're creating this onboarding package for new hires and retaining employees, making everybody's job easier in the future, what kind of tips would you give someone else who might not have that in place right now?
Oh, it's mammoth. So processes are mammoth, and I've actually been helping on this for 3 years. And what we've done is, when we sit down to go do a task, we try to create at some point, when you're doing it, to just side by side, screenshots or how-tos or whatever, just kind of write it up. And then after that, it's really good to see, okay, now the new person comes on board. Okay, will you take a look at that and tell me how it goes? Well, I don't understand this. I don't understand. Okay, great. So, or maybe our processes have changed a little bit. So you kind of tweak that a little. And again, I tell you that I'm a big thing on outsourcing. So there's another web software out there that I am currently getting ready to tap into that can house some of this for me and help train the new people with testing or whatever I want to do to set that up, and all your documentations. I can have videos and all sorts of things like that on there. But for right now, it's a big team effort. So what I've done is I've divided and conquered, and I said, okay, I would like you in the next quarter to handle this, you handle this, you handle this. And then I got someone overseeing all that to make sure that it comes to fruition. And that's just one piece and one department and one division. And we want to keep growing outward towards that. I have heroes in the industry that I watch. I watch what they're doing. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what I want to do. That's exactly what I'm trying to accomplish with my onboarding or my training or whatever. And we're going to get there. But process, I would say, if I were to say to anybody, it takes forever. And so, like, one of the things in that management software I was telling you about, for that, how we run our company, it's the last process that you work on in, all the bullet points that you work on for your company is the processes, because it's such an huge overtaking. But the other thing that they talk about is it's like the 80-20 rule, which I'm not very good at following, which is you take 20% of the instructions, just to kind of the major bullet points. Don't be like every detailed aspect. I'm very detailed, so it's hard for me. And I think it's hard in the division that I'm working in right now with it. But the others, I think it could be, here's your basic outline, boom, boom, boom. I guess the other thing I'm saying, there's so many resources out there to help you make your processes whatever you want them to be. If you want to, I even know, and I'm not using this right now, but I know there's this thing where you can literally have a scan code, like next to your pump. Your driver can scan it and you can watch the video on how to, clean your pump or whatever. So that's an option of something I've seen out there. There's just so many great resources, but it takes time and effort. And I think it's worth paying your people and yourself to make those happen, because everybody feels better when they know, oh, I know what to do, or I can watch a video, or I can look at my SOP or whatever it is and understand how to do something.
Yeah, I think it's just to write it down first. Just write it down. And like Becky said, that 80-20 rule, you're going to write down 100% of everything that needs to be done. And then just reducing that to the 20% so you allow people to, be able to conceptually get it, so I think it's very important.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. So let's talk a little bit about succession, succession plan within some of your key roles. What does that look like for you? What do you hope to have it look like for you?
Well, we are, so it's important to have a chart of where you currently are with your positions. And I'm losing the word that I'm looking for.
Like the org chart?
Org chart, organizational chart, where you're at, but to also have your future positions on there. And part of the business management software or program that we follow encourages us to have these BHAGs, these big audacious goals, and to put those down on paper and then map out the process to get to that, and then allow your employees to see where you're going to be and the process that you're going to take to get there, that they have a way to grow within your company. And to be able to do that visually, we're really good at doing it orally. And this is where we want to go. But when we're about to move into a new place and we're talking about getting this stuff printed out and putting on the walls and having it everywhere so that everybody sees a part of where you're going and how you're going to get there. It might not be the perfect layout of steps. You need this, and this person in place, but it's at least a visual representation that people have a place to grow, and that this is not, I'm here for the rest of my life in this position. And people are visually stimulated by those things. That's our next. We have quarterly meetings and we have monthly meetings where we are constantly communicating that to our teams. But then the next step for us is to visually, we've seen some heroes, some people that we have followed that do a really good job of posting that around everywhere in their company, where everybody knows where they're going and how they're going to get there. And that's our next step, is to go from the oral to the visual of being able to, here it is. When you walk in the door, you see it everywhere, and the map of how you can grow in this company and how you can get more training, more skills, and have more opportunities to grow as we grow. Some things that we have done is we have, our company, we've started lead, you have lead drivers, you have lead, the lead program that we have started with, being able to grow into that, where you're not just the regular driver, you now have, some more skill set and some more opportunity to train people or to at least mentor people in that sense of doing ride-alongs, doing quality audits, and things of that nature. So I think it's super important to visually remember, it's a dream, and dream big and put it out there, and people will help you attain your dreams. If you give them the roadmap, they will help you attain those dreams, because they'll become their dreams too, because it's about seeing the success. And I think that's been a really big success with us, in the sense of being able to communicate that this is where we're going, and we want you to be a part of it, and here's how you can participate. And so I think that's super important.
Yeah, that is. Thank you for sharing. And so what I'm hearing you say is, there's all these tools out there, resources and tools out there, not only for this industry, but for any, industry that is looking to get some organization around, hiring, retention, succession planning internally, that it doesn't have to just be, verbally communicated. So this is, these tools that you guys are definitely making use of end up becoming your coaching programs, right, for the rest of the staff. How did you find, these tools? Did somebody tell you about them? Can you share any of the specific, tools or softwares, that you're using, to kind of help
So,
somebody else out there who might be looking for it? Like, did you just search for it, or did you hear about it through any of your other heroes?
So what so we have always had mentors in our lives, and different different things, situations where we've had people in our lives that have been in that mentorship role. And when we got to this business, we didn't have a business mentor. We didn't have any of that type of thing. And we failed. We were, the first couple of years we were failing miserably, and it was hurting. And we started surrounding ourselves with people willing to help us. And we got to a gentleman who we sat down with him, and he just kept asking us why can't you do that? And every obstacle we came up with, he just kept saying, why can't you? Just why can't you do that? Why can't you do that? And he introduced us to a program. There's lots and lots of programs, but he introduced us to a program that's called EO, Entrepreneur Organization. And they're everywhere. It's a worldwide organization, and we, it's not inexpensive, but it's been very helpful. We joined that, and through that process, through joining that, we got introduced to amazing people outside of our industry who are business people, and we have weekly, monthly, and quarterly. We get some of the best speakers in the world at these events that we get to participate in and listen to. people who have ran Fortune 500 companies, people who are, great in this space or in that space, and being exposed to people who want to help you run your business. They don't care what your business is, because business is business, and we have to get out of that mindset. We get so entrenched with our blinders on that we can't do that because we're a portable sanitation company. Well, no, that's not true. We're a business first, and business principles apply across the board. And they helped us get out of that. Then we also went and did the PSAI. Being a member of the PSAI has, being surrounded in that industry and with people who are always ahead of you and successful. Going to the PSAI does a great job of their nuts and bolts and of their different conferences where you get to go visit people. And then we've taken the time and built relationships where we've been able to go visit other organizations that are doing what we want to do, and take the time to go do that. Take the time to go visit those, and just through osmosis of being there, you will get 2 or 3 nuggets of information that you bring back that move you forward. They move you forward, and always being able to constantly know the fact that all you have to do is do the work. You don't have to have the answers. We get stuck in that idea that we have to have the answers, and we don't have to have the answers. We have to have it's just like going to college. College doesn't teach you all the answers, but it teaches you how to research answers, how to look for different answers. And I think being part of PSAI and entrepreneur organization, and there's C12 out there, there's several organizations out there that are dedicated to helping you be a better business person, and getting those blinders off that you're a portable sanitation company and you can't benefit from those organizations because you're somehow different.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point, I think, and definitely worth repeating several times over, is that this industry, you're not just a portable restroom operator. You're not just a, dumpster roll-off. You are a business with, thriving individuals within it that can all work together to bring continued success. So, and I love what you shared about, being involved in the PSAI and building those relationships and learning from each other. I personally think this industry is one of the best for helping each other out, for lifting each other up, and figuring out ways to all succeed together. So I really appreciate everything you have been sharing. So as we're
a little bit.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. So I was just thinking when he was speaking, there's a few things came to my mind, and that is, they tell you that I don't know if I might kill this, but they say that you are like the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to, and sometimes like, well, I'm so busy, I don't spend time with anybody. But what are you feeding your brain? Like, are you listening to podcasts? Are you listening? What are you doing? What's going in? And with that, so all these organizations that Tim talked about, the EO, the PSAI, all the different, those kind of things, the people that you reach out to, all those are people that qualify, and they're just always that next level up to help you. And so I would just say, stay curious, be open. And, I've been so much like a sponge. Like, I just know there's like, the sky's the limit. And, I think the other thing is, a friend of mine in the portable, she is a portable sanitation person. She said, she's been willing to share with me nuggets here and there. And she goes, I'm willing to share whatever you want. She goes, it doesn't mean that they're going to get your success. You have to do the work. And so that's the thing, is no matter what, like Tim said that too, it's like, I think the only thing that keeps us going is like, we just, we're constantly hammering away at trying to, go at the dream that we're at, and we just dream big. And I believe 100% that we'll, anybody can get to anywhere they want to be. You just got to believe in yourself and know that there is a road, there is a way, and the sky's the limit. So excited.
Well, I think that's a perfect ending thought for us. Again, thank you so much for taking the time today, both of you, to share your story, your journey, a lot of the information that has gotten to you to where you are today. And of course, is going to continue to, launch you right down the road into the future with continued success and growth. But really, again, thank you for taking the time today.
Bye.